You're watching Saki Chronicles.
Dear God, Barry, you have to find any reason to weeb out, don't you?
What? You can gush over a prison game with action and horror elements on it, but I can't praise the beauty and terror that the Fatal Frame series brings, just because it's set in Japan?
You mean Project Zero?
Yeah, I don't know why we keep changing the names over here. Biohazard to Resident Evil. Fatal Frame was Project Zero. Haunting Ground to Demento. The list goes on.
What's up with horror games having helpless little girls being the protagonists? Right on cue.
Hey guys.
Sup, Joe?
It's like ringing a dinner bell for him at this point.
What?
Nothing. We were just talking about the Fatal Frame series.
The ghost game? Barry, I thought you hated games where you can't defend yourself.
Oh, you poor demented Democrat. You can defend yourself in this game.
Yeah, with the camera, remember?
What about it? Damn thing wasn't worth the dust that covered it.
What?
Joe, what are you talking about? You use the camera obscura to fight off the ghosts.
You do?
Jesus Christ.
What else would you use it for?
I thought it was to just take pictures of the area like Pokemon Snap.
Joe, how far did you even get in the game?
I never got past the first house. I kept dying.
No fucking wonder.
Okay, we're going to table this for now. Let's get into what we came here to do.
You mean forced to do?
Forced or not, I am actually kind of excited for this. They may have their flaws, but they're masterpieces compared to that utter shit we had to endure.
Agreed. So what's the first one? Regeneration?
Degeneration, you senile goat.
Those jokes aren't going to age well now that I am no longer the old man in office, you fat waffle.
Yeah, like you're one to talk about aging well.
Jesus, enough you idiots. Let's just start this shit already.
Right, so which one is this? The terrorism one?
Do you have the slightest idea how little that narrows it down?
It's the one with the airport, dummy.
Oh yeah.
So this one opens up with a more in-depth look at exactly how bad the world looked at Umbrella, instead of just a shitty exposition dump like at the beginning of RE4.
Soon its stock prices crashed, and for all intents and purposes, Umbrella was finished.
Boring.
It also shows the beginnings of both the TerraSave organization, as well as the government starting up the BSAA.
Put taxpayers' money to work by allocating $1 billion for an anti-bioterror program.
Wow, it takes only half of the cost of GTA 6 to make a large-scale anti-bioterrorism organization.
And probably only half the time too.
This film was interesting, to say the least. Although it has good story elements that continue the continuity of the franchise, it also has a few flaws that make it that special brand of post-RE5 silliness.
I can agree to that, like how the terrorists want the government to admit its involvement with the T-virus outbreak in Raccoon City, or else it will create more outbreaks in many other populated cities with the T-virus.
They want to reveal everyone from the U.S. government who was involved in its manufacture. They'll disperse the T-virus in every populated area in the U.S.
It was said that you would destroy this!
Corrupted corporations.
Not join them!
Or how about that there are actually vaccines for the viruses now?
An inoculation. That's what they've been working on, a way to prevent further outbreaks.
That's going to be a common thing in the later films, Joe.
Or just the utter cartoonish ways characters are.
Speaking of cartoonish characters, a prime example of that would be the Senator Davis.
Because he acts just like Tubba Lubs over here?
Gah! What tar pit did this crap ooze out of?
The amount of times this guy falls on his ass is more reminiscent of you. Thank God there weren't any stairs around or else he'd have really been cooked, right, Joe?
Impossible. The dude hates kids.
I can't stand kids. They're a real pain in the ass.
Oh right, the fucker actually pushes the kid out of his way and then proceeds to ground pound the concrete like Mario just to get away. No wonder his fucking back hurts.
My spine!
Love the way that Claire just decides to slap a United States Senator in clear view of military personnel, and nobody does shit about it.
Oh, bastard!
She can't do that. Shoot her or something.
Either way, I never understood why he's even in this film. I mean, I get that he was supposed to be there for some meeting or whatever, but he's basically a red herring to make you think that he's responsible for the virus or something when it's really just some insider trading with the stocks or some shit.
Like Pelosi?
Senator Ron Davis announced his resignation after being accused of insider trading with Will Pharma stock.
But he's mainly here to throw shade at Claire.
If you hadn't told them I was here, they would have ignored your call.
You might want to stick your ego up your ass.
I wouldn't argue with you there.
Hey, phrasing!
But also to be the gateway into what Tricell is. You guys remember them, right? The other big pharmaceutical company that just has to make viruses for global terrorism.
Prepare for trouble!
Make it double!
Jesus, is that like a requirement now if you want to be able to make money selling oxycodone and baby aspirin and shit? Like I'm starting to feel that the Resident Evil universe is a place where if you have a cough or you have chronic neck pains, you're pretty much fucked, since every pharmacy will probably have a vial of T-virus next to the Advil.
It's time for the pill!
That motherfucker's dead.
No shit, but let's get back on track and talk about Frederick Downing.
Is that the motherfucker who sounds like Sebastian from Black Butler but looks like the good version of Wesker? This guy was just another villain obsessed with money.
What inspired you to
betray and murder innocent human lives?
Money!
True, but I did like his reasoning. Selling the antivirus to the very virus they created. That actually makes sense and would probably be more profitable than the actual virus itself. I mean, that's some V for Vendetta shit right there.
As of now, General Grande, only you will be in possession of a set of the T-virus and the T-vaccine.
Imagine a virus, the most terrifying virus you can, and then imagine that you and you alone have the cure.
Speaking of which, am I the only one who is confused on how exactly he got the G-virus in the first place? Because to my knowledge, canonically, the virus was successfully extracted from Raccoon City, one sample from Hunk. Sherry's infected blood goes to the government, and although she's not a danger, she still has regenerative powers from it.
But the virus adjusted and adapted. It's been a part of me ever since.
And possibly Ada Wong too, even though she failed.
No! Ada, wait!
So by my count, only 3 possible factions should have this virus.
I am with Donnie on that. Shit was confusing.
Apparently Downing was an Umbrella researcher in Raccoon.
You put a city at the end of that word. This isn't that shitty movie.
All the exits out of Raccoon have been blocked by Umbrella. There's no way out of Raccoon by road.
It was once Umbrella started moving their operations out of Raccoon.
Right, my bad. Anyways, I guess he may have stolen some samples before he left.
Good God, are these viruses just like the Jedi now? At first we're told that only a few of them survived, but as time goes on, more and more seem to have gotten away. Like fucking rats. It's like, what the fuck were they even worried about at all?
No shit, so you're telling me that Downing was able to get Birkin's super secret creation.
My precious G-virus. No one will ever take you away from me.
That's all I needed for him to do that, and it became personal with me.
The one he loved more than his own daughter, and just fucking waltz right out of the city like this was Casino or something?
Just another fat fuck walking out of the casino with a suitcase.
I honestly can't decide which is more stupid. Frederick taking Claire to the office so that she can witness his fake death, or him just parked a few miles away from the crime scene that he created, just to talk on the phone for an extraction.
You were supposed to come alone.
I just wanted to see your face one more time.
The fucker deserved to be caught after that.
He probably would have gotten away with it too if it had not been for Claire and her meddling. Then the whole thing would have easily been blamed on Curtis Miller, the dude he was actually trying to pin this on.
That's why he left me. That's why he blew up this place.
Ah, yes. Curtis Miller. I can only think of 2 remarkable things about this guy. First, that he's voiced by Roger Craig Smith, 1 year before voicing motherfucking Chris Redfield in the upcoming games.
Let me through! Let me through!
I've had enough of your bullshit!
The last thing we want is Amy expressing herself. We gotta do something!
No, not that blue rat.
Oh, right. I keep forgetting that he voiced Sonic.
Unfortunately, his first role into the RE universe was to play a carbon copy of Carlito Keys, another terrorist trying to expose a government conspiracy in which a viral zombie outbreak destroyed his home and his family. So now he wants to use said virus against them by infecting innocent people.
There was no drug trade in Santa Cabeza. Just an American research facility. They were doing research on some sort of parasitic insect, like a wasp. A wasp that turns living things into zombies.
Also, he has incredibly long hair and is the brother of the protagonist. It's practically the same guy using the same plot.
I couldn't forgive them for covering up the Raccoon City atrocity. I refused to let the government rewrite the truth as they saw fit.
My purpose in life has been to get revenge for what you people did to Santa Cabeza, to my hometown.
So, the terrorism is a retaliation for a cruel government cover-up.
If I remember correctly, this guy is a known terrorist, right? Like he's on the government's list and is shown on the news.
Dr. Curtis Miller, a longtime opponent of the Will Pharma research facility, was arrested and charged with obstruction of business and issuing threats to proponents of Will Pharma.
He was arrested for threatening Will Pharma.
He just demanded that information be made public.
Unfortunately, the rest of the world doesn't see it that way.
Hell, even Claire recognizes him just from a glance.
Curtis Miller?
Where are you going with this, creepy?
The dude's fucking house is only a short drive away from the airport and the Will Pharma facility that gets attacked later on.
This is the road to Curtis's home.
Like I said, this guy was on the FBI's radar, and yet nobody thought to immediately check his house? The one that's literally down the road?
Side note on that, there's the scene where Curtis is literally just standing in his house, talking on the phone and staring at his pictures. But then he burns the house down, making me wonder if he was just standing there, breathing in gasoline fumes for dramatic effect. This dude was weird.
Not as weird as his fucking monster form. You remember what that thing looks like? Like Birkin fucked a charred lizard. I mean, shit. The way his arms look, it's almost like he spent all his free time on special internet sites.
I'm just gonna go and check my mail over there.
Well, that explains why your arms are so misshapen.
I also couldn't help but notice how he used his tail like the Balrog to try and drag them down to the abyss. But also, what the fuck is up with that giant eyeball formed on the exact spot that was on Birkin? How is that an evolutionary improvement? I mean, is it a prerequisite to being infected with the G virus?
As much of a prerequisite as anyone infected with the G has this sudden urge to fuck whatever kin is next to them.
It sees you as a breeding tool. That thing isn't your brother anymore.
Christ, Curtis, didn't you read the fine print? Didn't you know that the moment you see your sister, you all turn into every man at a Southern family reunion?
The bodies of individuals with non-related genetic coding are likely to reject the embryo, but since Sherry is his daughter...
Alabama! The worst part of this is that even though he's been infected for quite a while and seems to be pretty transformed, he still recognizes Angela enough to not attack her for a small moment.
I don't want to hurt you. Please.
Which makes me have to question Birkin even more. Curtis just proves that William didn't fight hard enough. Guy was walking Joe territory real quickly.
Getting real sick and tired of your shit.
Mainly tired though, right?
That's enough, you old ladies. Let's move on to Angela. My brother can't be that bad Miller.
Curtis Miller is my older brother. My brother wouldn't do something like this.
First things first, she's voiced by Laura Bailey a few years before her most iconic Resident Evil role, where she voices yet another one of Leon's female partners, Helena Harper.
It's hard to explain. If I don't tell you at the cathedral, you may not believe me.
Oh fuck, had a Joe moment and forgot all about Helena.
Look, I get that this is the first CGI film and the audience needs to catch up with the lore, but having a character like Angela not know what a zombie is.
But even if there is a connection, that shouldn't kick off a spontaneous outbreak of some creepy-ass plague.
Or how to deal with them is a little stupid. This event takes place in 2005, meaning it's been 7 years since the Raccoon City incident, and we're meant to believe that none of these sort members know how to deal with them.
Destroy their brains?
Shoot them in the head.
There's no debriefing or even a simple government-made manual on how to survive just in case. I mean, shit, the Pentagon has an actual plan in place right now.
Even Max Brooks' manual is rather educational.
To be honest, both SORT members were incompetent. I mean, her fucking partner was a fuck up in nearly every single scene he's in.
What's the matter? Chief Jackass again?
He argues against orders.
Hey, hold on a second. You can't be serious. Who does this guy think he is?
He refuses to advance, separating from his partner, a crime that even Leon won't abide.
Wait!
He doesn't burst his shots, just openly firing into a crowd.
Doesn't he taunt them while shooting too? Like a fucking psycho?
Freaks! Yeah! Woo!
Right, he even turns around while holding the senator to kill a slow-ass zombie behind him. Dumbass deserved his fate.
Ah! Greg! He got bit! He damn well got bit!
Back to Angela, her entire character in this is only so that they can have some connection to the bad guy. I mean, let's be real here. They are both Millers, and yet nobody thought to double check to see if his sibling was maybe in league with this very well-known terrorist.
No shit. They also allow her to be that close to a United States senator? To be honest, Angela being the sister of Curtis actually puts more wrenches in the works than anything, especially since they really only wanted that one moment where G. Curtis needs to breed with her.
Not to mention how little Angela seems to give a fuck that her own sister-in-law and little niece had also died in Raccoon City. Never mentions it once, even though she's shown in that picture too.
The picture that's in the very house that he owns that she never once mentions. Holy shit, this is Helena Harper all over again.
Explain.
A woman voiced by Laura Bailey, who is partnered with Leon, is somehow connected with a terrorist who uses a viral outbreak of zombies on innocent people just to get to a United States politician.
Oh wow, that is pretty sus.
I just want to point out that Capcom will once again use the scene in 5, where a monster is holding onto the female partner by the leg while hanging for life, only to be shot off.
I'm taking the two of you with me! Like
Bottom line is, Angela's true purpose in this fucking film is that one moment when G. Curtis picks up a fucking picture off of the floor, and that's all. Simple as that.
Well, that, and now Leon has another heart to break.
Blink, motherfucker!
No shit, her telling him that they should go diving again while she cooks away in that sundress was so obvious.
Leon. Let's go diving together again sometime.
Love to.
But then again, why would you offer a date that resembles the time you both were chased by a monster and you nearly died?
Obviously, to relive that underwater kiss they shared.
Not sure Ada would find it as funny as you do, Joe.
To be honest, it's not that far-fetched. Remember who she's talking to? Motherfucking Leon S. Kennedy. The same guy who stiffs up when he sees his handler without glasses on.
You know, you're kind of cute without those glasses. Give me your number when I get back.
May I remind you that you're still on duty?
The man doesn't like nerds, what can I say?
Story of my life.
He doesn't like to show any emotion in this film either, no cap. Look, I'm happy as fuck that Paul Mercier reprised his role from the Reef 4 OG, but good lord, how is it that this Leon has less emotion than ever?
Is this it?
Yep.
Reinforcements?
None. We're getting out alone.
God damn it, the one back in 1998 had better facial expressions than this statue.
Hold your fire! I'm a human!
I'm not even fucking kidding. At least 4 different times, Leon looks like he's made of stone during moments when he needed to emote more.
You break out the vaccine for this!
Had we been able to follow proper procedure, as outlined in the original schedule...
I'm gonna scrub this virus from the face of the earth.
I responded to a call about a small child that was stranded on a sandbank in the middle of a flooding river.
He must have been a statue standing like that, but also the dude takes damage without flinching like a wall. Once in this, he gets his ass yeeted across the length of a football field just to smash his dome right into a concrete block, only for him to get right back up. You telling me this is the same motherfucker who got his shit wrecked on the regular back in OG4?
Ah, the audacity of youth.
Like, what the fuck is that? Did his head get knocked loose or something?
Well, he does actually introduce himself with that fucking S in his name, which is kind of a strange thing to do.
Who the hell are you?
Leon S. Kennedy.
Since the only people in this franchise who's used his middle name are villains.
Or Mr. Scott, you can give us the girl because you're not worth a penny, I'm afraid. You can die.
Here we have Leon S. Kennedy.
Leon S. Kennedy. What's the S stand for, stupid?
Fuck off, Saki. You better not think of putting that movie anywhere near this film.
If that DVD even touches
this tier,
I will kill you.
Well, as much as I would have liked to fawn over Leon in this, unfortunately, just like in 6, he's kind of a set piece. Each CGI film has an obvious character that the story focuses on from the franchise, and this one doesn't really align with Leon. Yes, he's in it, and he kicks ass as usual.
Oh, do you mean like when there's a zombie on him and rather than just shoot it in the face like this was the Raid Redemption, he just wastes time awkwardly grappling with it, like this was the prom?
I mean that he's more secretive and not forthcoming about most things.
Claire, it's true.
You knew?
For instance, in that scene you mentioned, Joe, as he grapples with the zombie, he pulls out a second handgun he had the whole time, while Claire had nothing. Then there's the attack on the antivirus trucks, which is implied that he knew would happen since Leon had already knew that the terrorists were going to attack at midnight.
If they don't get that information, what'll happen?
They'll disperse a T-virus in every populated area in the U.S. The deadline is midnight.
That's only 4 hours from now.
Not even Senator Davis knew about that.
Why don't you tell us what their demands are already? If you don't want to talk, I'll just go directly to the president.
I got to agree, it does seem like the Leon from 4 did a hard shift before slowly becoming the action-packed Leon from 6. All guns and no fun, if you know what I mean.
Agreed. Paul Mercier was great as Leon, and I am also glad that they got him to say the get down line from the OG.
Get down!
Wait! Don't shoot!
Get down!
It was a nice and subtle nod to how he and Claire met.
Speaking of which, let's finish this up with whom the film is actually centered on. Claire Redfield, once again voiced by Allison Court.
We should introduce ourselves. I'm Claire Redfield.
More like Dorothy from Oz, since she has the reddest shoes I have ever seen.
At least this Claire looks leagues better than what she did in 2015 for Revelations 2. Not to mention that they just palette swapped her clothes in that with this one.
All right, guys, let's focus. Claire's role in this is pretty big, already being a part of Terra Save and showing her expertise when it comes to dealing with zombies. It's actually hilarious to me that she's able to handle herself much better than actual trained soldiers and security forces.
Very true, my girl's the best. Even Leon mentions it at one point.
And since when did the NGO member become such an authority on the subject?
She's one of the rare survivors of Raccoon City. She has more experience with this kind of hellish nightmare than anyone else here.
A weird statement, seeing as how he was there during the outbreak too, and also the shit he did in 4.
Regardless, she's her usual peak self in this, not even hesitating when going out for help with only an umbrella to use for a weapon.
Never saw this coming.
Irony!
I see what you did there, Capcom.
Makes you wonder if Raccoon City survivors have PTSD when they're around umbrellas.
I want to know what's up with Capcom constantly saddling her with kids to look after. Sherry Birkin, Natalia Corda, Moira Burton if you want to get technical.
And you know what we do to butt stains.
And this little girl.
I'm Ronnie.
I thought for sure they were just rehashing old shit for her to do.
You want to talk about rehashing shit for Claire? How about how she is constantly being thrown into a relationship of some kind with some dude? Leon.
Would have been one hell of a first date, though.
Steve. Neil.
He's not my boyfriend.
Doc in the live action.
You know, he and I noticed.
And now Frederick Downing.
Join me for a late afternoon tea.
Dude was laying that sugar on so thick that you could actually put it on some pancakes. Fuck, even the senator noticed from half a field away.
That's harsh, Joe. Not very feminist of you.
No shit, creepy. She's got to save the bloodline somehow. She probably gets calls all day and night from her brother, setting her up on blind dates.
Claire, have you found a mate yet?
Seriously? How are you still alive?
The bloodline, Claire. It must continue at all costs.
What do I have to do? Get out of my face!
What I am saying is that it's actually a subplot in this one. Like I said before, if Downey had never did his stupid mating dance at her, she'd have never been there to meddle, and he'd have probably gotten away with it.
True, I get it. Not to mention that this is also a possible love interest that yet again turns out to be the shitty traitor who was helping the real villain all along.
Goddamn, can Claire's heart not catch a fucking break? They're either liars or they fucking die. This bloodline is never getting saved. And the poor girl is DTF.
Jesus, Don.
Down to fun.
No.
Anyways, bottom line is that Claire in this is still dope as fuck, and with Allison Court reprising her role, she gives her that extra kick that's needed for this film. Now, I will admit that there are some flaws in this one. Cliché personalities of certain characters, subplots that seem to never get answered, or the main villain's boring-ass motivation.
Which doesn't end here either, Bear.
True, Joe, it doesn't. However, as a whole, there were a lot of good things too, like how it ties in with the Raccoon City incident. Again, Paul Mercier and Allison Court coming back one final time to be Leon and Claire, and the action sequences being much better than the Anderson fuck-ups. I vote for A tier, definitely above the Anderson film, and a good start for the CGIs.
I agree with that too.
Same.
Alright guys, before we move on to Damnation, let's do what we did for the live-action films and shoot off some rapid-fire notes. I'll go first with how fucked up it is that in this universe it seems like the zombie virus is a known thing. Hundreds of thousands of people died from the Raccoon City incident. And that's why people are protesting and why TerraSave and the BSAA were even created. Yet there are actual assholes who dress up as them like it's Halloween. Or even when that Greg Glenn guy made fun of them.
Becoming infected by being bitten. Ugh. It's like something out of a horror movie. Those creatures rising up out of their graves. Ooh.
Shit, dude, these are actual human beings that lost their lives, and you're going to make jokes about it. It's as insensitive as that Thanos ice cream store joke.
And that's it. That's those little brave baby steps we gotta take to try and become whole again, try and find purpose. But you gotta move on.
Who was that guy on the plane that gave the stewardess that note? He mentions Downing, but they never explain how he got infected at all, plus what was even on the note.
Emergency.
I actually want to know why the pilots even opened the cockpit door during a crisis in the air. This is after 9/11, so aren't they supposed to never open that door if there's trouble in the cabin? And on that note, how the fuck do zombies know how to open an airplane door? That shit is more technical than a normal doorknob.
Why did the helicopter wait for that one specific moment to turn on its spotlight onto Frederick? Did the pilot actually want to make it a dramatic reveal? Not to mention how completely silent it was.
You're too pathetic to kill.
So at one point, Leon takes his jacket off to jump over the platforms, but then when the film is done, it shows that he has it back on. How the hell did he get it back?
Speaking of that jacket, did anyone else notice that he still uses his handgun from the OG? I think that was pretty cool.
Speaking of cool, I think that at one point Leon mentions umbrella scientists that are in hiding and are on the run.
Maybe we'll finally dig up a lead on the whereabouts of the former Umbrella Corporation employees. They've got to be the ones peddling the virus on the black market.
Perhaps the BSAA should check Argentina.
To be honest, I'm glad they got rid of that kid midway through the film. It would have been the worst if this movie was nothing but yet another escort mission for her. She does that shit enough. She's not a fucking nursery.
I was actually disappointed they got rid of her.
Seriously?
Jesus.
It would have made the stakes higher. More intense for Claire, just like in the games, that's all.
Sure, buddy.
All right, we're moving on. The next film is Damnation, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. This one did not do it for me.
Really?
You serious, Bear? The action sequences alone were top-notch, not to mention Leon's in the spotlight for this one.
Plus, this shit has all the liquors and tyrants you can feast on. Damn film is amazing if you ask me.
You guys already forgot how most of this film feels like the wet dream that sprung from RE6? God damn, most of these barely have anything to do with actual zombies, let alone those BOWs you boys love so much. Christ, the villain's entire motivation was just unnecessary. And it's so politically pushed, it's practically the Phantom Menace of Resident Evil films.
As a people, we are suitable for full acceptance into the international community.
This is incredible. We recommend a commission be sent to Naboo to ascertain the truth.
The Congress of Malastare concurs with the honorable delegate from the Trade Federation.
I don't give a damn about the politics.
Svetlana is a true badass and possibly one of the best villains we've seen. She's the only villain to never dip into her own supply. She does not use the virus on herself or anything. Real dope shit, not gonna lie. For fuck's sake, she can go toe-to-toe with Ada and come out on top. And she does it with zero modifications, just pure human strength, like Leon.
You mean like when Leon himself couldn't even land a single hit to her? She just evades and then tosses him like a rag doll about 20 feet away like it was nothing.
I can see Barry's point on this, actually. Too little backstory is given for her, but we're supposed to swallow that she can single-handedly take out the top two most athletic fighters in the entire franchise? Is this bitch a Jedi or something? Because that's like if they dropped Jake and gave him all those fighting skills, but didn't explain why he had them. No mention to being Wesker's son or whatever.
That probably would have actually been better.
And going back to her motivation, she just wants what? The resources that the rebels have?
The government discovered that the rebels' land contained valuable resources.
Well, fuck, bitch. Maybe if you didn't plunge your entire country into the third world just so you can have some kind of secret underground lab that resembles a hive.
And what is the hive?
The hive house.
Fuck off with that
God,
shit.
no.
Maybe you wouldn't need to resort to a civil war. You can actually see where each coin of the taxpayers' money went to. The poor bastards.
Pretty impressive for an old nuclear shelter.
And on that note, if she didn't want anything to be linked back to her, then maybe don't have your entire operation have a theme. Bees on the trucks, and then to actually have your secret lair be made to look like a hive? I mean, shit, even Leon points it out.
It's like a beehive.
Wait, I thought the revolutionaries were using the bee trucks to move their liquors around.
They were, but I see where he's coming from, actually. Because the bees are breadcrumbs that Leon is following.
You're the beekeeper?
The beekeeper?
The person who released the plaga.
Exactly. Not a very smart way to cover your tracks in illegal activity, if you ask me.
Well, there probably wasn't anyone to give hush money to.
Fuck you.
Fine. Although I still think she's a badass, I will admit that I was a little confused on some of the things she did. Like, not only does she just accept that Ada is from the BSAA.
I have been sent here by the BSAA.
It is trying to sell her on a new type of plaga.
Total control of most of the BOWs has been nearly impossible up until now. A new technology that changes that fact has recently been developed. Tell me more.
But also that she did not do a single background check on her before the meeting.
There is no one working for the BSAA by the name of Ada Wong.
Are you serious?
I thought there was a civil war going on, and the president of the opposition is just allowing strangers waltz right into her office with shit credentials. But her fights are still peak.
I can't argue that. But before we get into Ada...
Oh, yes, please.
Let's talk about some of the other characters, like that piece of utter shit that did not need to be a part of this film. Fucking JD.
My name is not Hey You. I'm JD. Although that's not my real name.
I thought we already talked about him in the live actions, Bear.
I'm warning you, stay down!
No, Joe, this is another JD entirely.
This cringy motherfucker was just the absolute worst.
You my man.
He's basically like Quint from Revelations, but on the other side of the cringe spectrum. Thinks he's cool, but he's far from it.
Well, we prefer to call ourselves pro-independence fighters.
Really, Don? You're not going to love this gun-toting asshole?
Is it common for people in America to be packing one of these while on vacation?
Sure. We've been doing it since the country was first founded.
Wow! America's the bomb, yo!
Thirsty as fuck for anything Uncle Sam can give.
Sure, we hate it. But things made in America, now that's different.
I have my limits.
I couldn't stand this fuckwit, and I know I can't be the only one. This dude doesn't do a goddamn thing throughout the entire movie. All he does is cry about shit and then act like his shit's on fire when he's around Leon. And he's a fucking clueless dolt with more earrings than brain cells.
I know I should have stayed off the junk food.
What this guy actually says to Leon later on when he's about to turn actually infuriates me the most.
You know, I didn't really care about independence. All I wanted was to have fun with you and my friends.
Did he actually admit that while everyone was dying around him, innocent women and children most likely too, that he didn't even give a fuck? All he wanted to do was just run around and shoot guns with his buddies?
Pretty much. And even though the film wants me to feel sad that he's going to run, I really couldn't give two shits. He deserves a spaghetti monster of a head.
See, that actually kind of confused me. So, at one point when they're out in the open, he and Leon witness one of the soldiers being attacked.
I love that scene. This fucking idiot just can't stand up and acts like a cartoon character that's slipping on the floor. Motherfucker deserved his fate.
Anyways, you interrupting shit. What I was going to say was that they witnessed him getting the plaga shoved into his mouth. A much better sight than what they show in 5, for sure, but that's not my point.
What is your point, Joe?
While we're still alive, please.
My point, fuckers, is that JD had no idea what was happening to that man, meaning he'd never seen the plaga transferred before.
What happened to everybody?
I'd say the plaga you're hiding got loose.
I don't know what you're talking about!
However, he later tells Leon that he knows about it, and that it was possibly given to them by the elders.
You inject that stuff into your body so you can control the liquors, right? Some compassionate elders you got there.
What other options do we have?
But then after the church is attacked, JD doesn't turn for what seems like 10 minutes, so how did he get infected?
Most likely by one of the other carriers, like with that soldier.
No, I see what he means. If JD got infected by the plaga transfer, then he'd have turned immediately. And also there would be some infected around to hold him down and such. But there's nobody.
Okay, then maybe he got the needle injection, like the Elder in the beginning. He even admits that they had no choice.
How the fuck did this stupid idiot get the Plaga to mind control Lickers before Sasha did? I do not see the Elders giving it to a Slim Shady lookalike who
didn't really care about independence.
Not to mention that he was against the injection in the first place and even pleads with Sasha not to go get it.
I have to go and get it.
Go and get it? Why? You've seen what's happening outside. Do you want that to happen to you?
It's confusing, I agree. But let's move on to Sasha since we've mentioned him already. Here's someone who is yet again just a guy using bioweapons to his own end because he lost his loved ones from the government.
That's the reason why he's fighting this war.
Wasn't he a teacher too?
She was a school teacher, and believe it or not, so was Buddy.
A teacher turned soldier in a war-torn country in Europe. Where have I seen that before?
I'm a school teacher. I teach English composition.
His motivations are bland, yes, but come on, Bear. His control over the Lickers was hot like an LA wildfire.
Pun intended.
No, I cannot. But seriously, that's really the only thing going for him whenever he decides to show up. Most of the time he just dips out of the film for long periods of time just to pop right back in. Hell, there's more character development between JD and Leon than there is with Sasha.
Most likely because the film itself was still trying to figure out if he was a villain or not. Throughout the entire movie, Sasha's constantly treating Leon like he's the enemy.
Don't say a word. There is no doubt about the fact that you are our enemy.
Even when his best friend tells him to lay off. But then fast forward 20 minutes and Sasha is right back to trying to kill Leon once more.
You! What have you done? No! He's not our enemy!
20 minutes later.
Did you use it? Get him.
It's an overplayed trope in most action films, to be honest. Main protagonist captured by rebels, smacked around because they don't trust him, only to later trust him.
Okay, I'm glad we got all that sorted out.
What the hell?
I tied those knots. That's my specialty.
You've been watching too many movies.
Not to mention that as a general rule in this franchise, using monsters to do your bidding has always been the mark of the villain. Being able to control them with his mind basically makes him a mini Sadler. Hell, even Svetlana proves it when she unleashes those tyrants in the final act. You can't use a bioweapon and still be the hero.
Unless you're Pierce.
Oh man, those tyrants were the fucking best. It's so good to actually get to see them being used correctly on the big screen. And even though I agree with Bear about Sasha, it was so fucking lit to watch those Lickers fight those big boys.
Nice. So he fucks up and turns to the dark side for a bit. He redeems himself in the end when everything clears up.
Oh, we will get to how that happens later. But let's go ahead and move on to Ada, since she apparently has a pretty prominent role in this as well.
Okay, so hear me out, because I am going to say some real controversial shit.
Interesting.
Go on.
So normally I'm all in with whatever Ada has going. She works for some shadowy figure or organization and does her job well.
Except when she didn't get the G sample for Wesker in 2.
Or with whatever the fuck she was doing in 6.
She also got her ass kicked by Sadler in 4 and needed Leon to help her.
Which also happens here too. She even gets hung up the same way as well.
Christ usually does her job well then. Bottom line is that I can follow what she's doing. However, in this film, there's a couple things I raise my eyebrows with.
Such as?
Yes, tell us, oh great observer.
So first, like we said before, she infiltrates the Capitol and has an audience with the president, but her cover is that she's of the BSAA.
I have been sent here by the BSAA.
Why the fuck would she choose something that can be fact-checked so fast? Of all the organizations she could have chose, she went with the one that has the most media coverage.
The BSAA, a counter-bioterror NGO, which operates independently of the interests of any one country.
Literally a single phone call, and she'd be caught. Which is why when they made a single phone call, she was caught.
I hate to side with Sleepy on this, but she even uses her actual name too, which I thought was so fucking stupid for a double agent to do.
My name is Ada Wong.
Like we said before, it's quite the oversight on Svetlana's part. Especially since they allow Ada to leave their surveillance to do whatever she wants in a war-torn city overnight.
Where did you go last night? You were not in the hotel.
I went to meet an old friend.
In fact, nobody even checks her credentials until the next day.
I found it hilarious that Ada ends up just walking right back into the office. I mean, I get that she needed to find a way into their lair, but why not just use the first part of her plan to open the way?
If they attack the Capitol, it'll make my job a lot easier.
That's the other question I have. What exactly is her mission?
To get a sample of the plaga, right? Wait, that can't be right.
Exactly. I thought that she had already done that in 4.
Don't worry. I'll take good care of it.
No, Joe. She is there to steal a sample of the dominant plaga. Apparently, Svetlana found a way to cultivate them.
This is the first time that the dominant members of the species have been cultured.
So then, she isn't the one supplying the rebels with plaga queens?
Did you release the plaga?
Don't make me laugh. I'm not interested in defective products.
No, that would be Svetlana, giving them out to the elders like candy out of a van for some shitty false flag operation or something.
So then who is Ada trying to help and how?
I'm just here to lend them a hand, although it seems as if my help wasn't needed.
That's what's got me so confused, because if she means that she's helping the rebels, how else would she be doing it other than giving them plaga samples that she has already retrieved to help them attack the Capitol the next day?
Okay, I'll agree that it's kind of confusing, but that also makes me question if this means that the liquors have plaga inside of them, because Ada is clearly talking about plaga when she's briefing Svetlana. It even says it in the papers she brings.
Well, with that all being said, at least she's not boring or anything in this. Hell, her hand-to-hand with Svetlana is such an improvement over that sloppy garbage water that they called combat in the Anderson films. But I will also go as far as to say that it's peak hand-to-hand we will see in the CGI films.
What about?
Nope, not right now. We'll get to it later.
Can't wait.
Anything else before we move on to Leon?
Yeah, so it's obvious she's talking to Simmons at the very end, since I guess he's the one who contracted her to get the plaga.
Does it finally answer the most important and glaring question of all in RE6? Where the fuck did she get that shitty-looking phone?
No.
Damn it.
But my question is, did you see the size of the thing she's carrying it in? Not to mention that it just has windows on the side so you can see what's inside. How the fuck did she get that through customs?
Where is she keeping them?
The less we talk about 6, the better.
Even though this whole film was just an hour-and-a-half teaser for it?
So let's move on to the best boy himself, now voiced by Matt Mercer. Leon in this film didn't seem to have learned anything from his time in 4, since he enters the film doing practically the same thing.
Moving into position.
Copy.
Leon gets dropped into a European country by himself only to immediately get his ass knocked out by the locals, all of which are infected by the plaga parasite. However, he isn't killed, but captured for some reason. When he escapes, he finds his way to a church, which again, church bells attract the infected.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
After that, it's just a regular RE6 jerk-off fest. Actually, it's interesting to physically see how Leon kind of devolves into this 80s action star, almost like he has destined to be in the Expendables or something. As if the last vestige of Leon's RE4 personality were slowly being siphoned away during Degeneration, hence why he was such an emotionless statue. Then he came out of the oven to be this dude with Matt Mercer's voice.
When you put it that way, I can actually see it. I mean, if I was literally plucked from my vacation and thrown into a war-torn country just to be told I gotta leave the moment I step outside, I'd probably get Matt Mercer mouth too.
Your mission has been aborted. The U.S. is going to pull out of the country.
What? I just got here. What the hell?
Well, aside from his obvious change, he's still the top-tier ass kicker we know and love. I mean, shit, he even headbutts a soldier with a fucking steel pot on his head.
And can actually show us what fighting full-on liquor should look like, with their speed and agility.
As well as tyrants. I mean, fuck headbutting a soldier's helmet. Leon straight up tanks a full-on uppercut and seismic toss that yeets his ass at least 20 yards into a stone pillar. Dude still gets right the fuck back up.
Yeah, most likely because the Secret Service was so embarrassed that Mendez bodied him with a simple wooden crate, so they threw his ass into the Weapon X program. No way his skeleton's not completely adamantium by now.
That would explain a lot, actually.
But something I have to mention is that this will seem to be the last time we see him actually give a shit about innocent people, since that will definitely be a thing of the past in the next film.
Speaking of weird shit that he does, there's a moment in the film where his phone is ringing and JD holds it. Leon tells him not to answer it, but JD says,
I'm not falling for that. There's no way I'm allowing them to trace the call.
But then about 5 minutes later, Leon says the exact same thing in a situation that he should be all too familiar with.
Do you really think I'm gonna fall for that?
I always found it weird how inconsistent the infected are in this franchise. Sometimes they walk, sometimes they run, sometimes they are even quiet as a mouse because they're trying to be sneaky for some reason. But all that being said, I think this film is a low A. The action sequences are a breath of fresh air, and seeing Leon in his prime is always a plus for me.
I do not agree.
You have to be shitting me. We're really going to do this?
I will agree with you that the action is incredibly entertaining. Watching the fights with Svetlana, the lickers, and the tyrants make this film.
That can't be denied.
However, not only does this have the slight stench of Reese 6 lathered all over it like a Dove commercial, or the fact that JD alone kills the immersion of any scene that he's in, but nothing in this movie is ever referenced in any of the following films or games again.
I thought you can hear them say Svetlana's name on the radio at some point in Revelations 2.
Thank you, Joe.
Hold up, Donnie. I am on the fence with this one, but leaning more towards Barry's side, actually.
You fucking serious?
Well, come on, man. This film introduces one of the biggest plot holes in the franchise on the scale of RE0, which is that apparently there was a second cure to the plaga this whole time if you just shoot it.
There must be something we can do.
You can rip out the spinal cord, but the best you could hope for is paralysis or death.
What the fuck, Joe? So you're just going to say that Leon should have actually just flipped a coin and shot Ashley? 50-50 chance of either paralyzing her for life or killing her.
Paralysis. Oh, no. Or death.
Yeah, Joe, as much as I appreciate you backing me up, this was not the way, my guy. Although to be completely honest, Leon, just shooting the parasites and paralyzing half the Ganados would have been funny. A year later, all of the villagers are in wheelchairs and have ramps up to the front doors of their houses.
It would just turn into a giant nursing facility.
It's a retirement community.
That's not where I'm going with this, you dunces.
You will be though, Joe. Trust.
What I am saying is that Leon knew about this cure the entire time, even though it's stated specifically in Luz's notes that the only way to remove the parasite from its host is by radiation. And not only that, but if the parasite is an adult, all bets are off. The damn thing is too embedded into the nervous system.
Right, so when he shoots the parasite in Sasha, he should have just died, since I doubt that a baby parasite could have controlled all those lickers so effectively.
We owe it to the people who died alongside us. We have to continue living. Even if it means living the rest of our lives without the use of our limbs.
Fuck, you're right. And not only that, but if Leon knew about this, then why didn't he just say his stupid living without our limbs speech before potentially curing JD? The dude stood there and made Sasha watch as his friend's head exploded.
I was looking forward to showing you America.
What a government-issue dick.
Trust me, I've seen this happen every time.
Fine, I relent. B tier it is.
Okay, then let's finish this up with our rapid-fire points. I'll start with, who was Leon's contact in the beginning, and who was he working for?
Scarecrow. I'm the Tin Man. Can you talk?
Because he doesn't look like he's from the military, but then again, if he's part of the rebels, then why did the old man use the lickers to kill him?
Most likely because he was a rat, selling out to the Americans.
And yet that same old man just lets Leon live and takes him to their hideout. Am I supposed to root for the rebels or Svetlana? Because at this point, they're both fucked up.
You're both just awful.
Well, the elders were fucking dumb as shit anyways. Later on in the film, Svetlana tells Sasha that they had gone over to her side.
All of the elders, with the exception of Ataman, have already come over to my side.
But then the truth is that they actually were lured into a peace meeting just for it to be a trap for them to be killed.
What about the elders?
It's over. All of them. A little while ago.
I suppose I should mention that during the press conference. That the terrorists executed the elders as traitors.
What? Did none of these fucking old asses watch Braveheart?
Did anyone else think that Svetlana's assistant looked like Lurch from the Addams Family? Those fucking shoulders, man.
You're right. He moved like him too, since this fucking idiot just watches his boss get into a fight with Ada and does nothing about it.
Come on, Bear, would you want to get in the middle of that shit?
Fair enough.
Yes?
But speaking of just watching your ally get their shit wrecked, anyone else love it when that tyrant got his ass shredded by the American aircraft and Leon says,
"They were keeping an eye on me the whole time."
Yet if you go back a few minutes, that means that Hunnigan is just at her desk, watching him get his ass bodied over and over by these giants.
Yeah, she was probably pissed that he hung up on her the day before.
Leon!
She can tell him I got lost and missed my flight.
Woman scoring, right, Donnie?
Women.
Fuck off.
I like the way the tyrant caught that missile. No cap, that shit was lit as fuck. Much better than the OG Tyrant or 3 Make Nemi.
I love how the soldiers talk English. I mean, I get it when other characters do it when they're around an American like Leon or Ada.
Is Ada American?
But the soldiers above that basement had no excuse.
This one's clear. We're moving on. Pull out!
Also, going back to Leon shooting Sasha, I just wanted to point out that Leon fucking shoots him in the front. I'm pretty sure that there are vital organs between the spine and his gun that the bullet most likely went through, especially when he's barely even aiming.
But the option of taking our own lives no longer belongs to us.
Again, what an asshole.
Did anyone else notice how the film starts as a Cold War history lesson?
It split the world along eastern and western lines. Then, in 1991, it collapsed completely.
But then ends as the Eastern Slav Republic is literally thrown right back into Cold War Germany, with both countries taking it over.
A temporary government headed by the U.S. and Russia will be set up in the Eastern Slav Republic to maintain peace.
That just sounds like
the Cold War.
With extra steps.
That having a peaceful resolution is more fictional than all the tyrants and liquors we've seen.
Speaking of liquors, I just wanted to point out that Leon works his hips and goes to town on one of them. Dude actually locks his legs around it like it was a celebrity, and he was a gold digger.
Oh, that's fucking right. Speaking of Leon fucking, there's a moment when Ada straight up talks about some special night that she and Leon had.
By the way, when are we going to, carry on from where we left off that night?
And since this is technically before 6, and they weren't together in 4, then they basically fucked, and it's canon now.
So cute.
I concur.
Yeah, pretty much. Especially since after this film, he doesn't flirt with anyone else like he did with Angela or Hunnigan. Just becomes a drunk like Redfield.
Harsh.
But true.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to Vendetta.
Jesus, I can actually hear your pants stretching, Barry. You need to calm down.
He can't. He's too excited.
You guys can't fuck this up for me.
Whatever. Let's just get this going and continue with Leon, I guess, since his demeanor just does the classic 180 and goes from caring about civilians.
We've got confirmation that BOWs are being used in this war. If we don't stop them now, the same shit'll happen everywhere else.
To a complete asshole that will literally throw grenades onto bridges. Blow up a tanker truck in broad daylight in the middle of fucking New York. And most damning of all, actually kills innocent people and not give a fuck.
Bullshit? I don't remember that.
Actually, I do. Capcom zombie killing poster child offs one of those dogs, and as collateral damage, it subsequently kills people in the cars behind them.
These are innocent people. They are not part of the villain's ranks and are not chasing Leon, but instead are just trying to get home to their families. Unfortunately for them, Leon is beyond giving a shit at this point in his life.
And once again, like I said during the live actions, why the fuck is it always Dobermans? And why are their ribs always exposed?
Completely normal phenomenon.
One of those vehicles was obviously a minivan, so perhaps even children were in there too.
That's pretty fuck, can't deny that. But did you see those dogs? I don't know what the fuck Ares is pumping into them, but it definitely isn't pedigree. I mean, look at them, running up to 70 miles per hour and smashing cars like they were styrofoam. Perhaps excessive force was necessary.
Nah, fuck that. We're not going to excuse this boy's behavior in this one, because this isn't even the only time he's like this. Even when Chris and my girl go to him for help, he basically tells them to fuck off.
The hell do you want?
I got a job. We need your help.
I'm on vacation.
Side note, Leon calls Rebecca Dr. High Hopes.
Well, look who it is. The BSAA's golden boy and Dr. High Hopes.
High hopes, he's got high hopes.
That's just the fucking best, cementing her as the purest of all the Raccoon City alum to survive.
Jesus fucking Christ, we're not even talking about her right now, you simping fuck.
Yeah, man, calm the fuck down.
You're right, my bad. As I was saying, these two come to him for help because of his dealings with the Los Illuminados, something he'd be the only one to have explicit knowledge of. And what does he do?
Let's talk about Los Illuminados. Remember the type of BOWs they were using?
That's so long ago, I don't remember.
So he's just a drunk now because of what? His comrades died?
The bomb went off, and everyone on Metro SWAT. My whole unit. Gone.
He's actually going to play that pity card right in front of Chris fucking Redfield? The man basically wrote the book on losing comrades and getting wasted.
Leon, with everything that's going on, you just sit here and feel sorry for yourself.
Shit, you're right. I also think I remember him basically not wanting to help save that traitor guy's family, even though they are completely innocent.
I know too much. They're going to kill me and my family.
You tell us what you know first, and then we'll decide if we help.
Damn, they really fucked him up since Damnation, huh? I mean, Christ. Guy breaks into a random villager's home and kills him when they try and defend themselves, but when they take their revenge on some teammates, he can't handle it.
You just can't help yourself when it comes to RE4 Leon, can you?
Well, he may be at the bottom of a glass, but at least he's still a badass. Just give this guy a bike and a gun and look at what he can do.
No shit. Leon uses that fucking bike for anything and everything. When he's on the bridge, he uses it like a fucking pommel horse. And he also throws it at areas, and for some reason it sticks to him like a plasma grenade in Halo.
Jesus!
Leon?
You and the fucking
bike.
That's not even half as fantastical as when he arrives to help Chris, just to tell him that he took the fucking stairs.
Sorry I'm late. Had to take the stairs.
I mean, there were elevators. We know this because a dozen fucking zombies use them. So why didn't he do it like that guy from True Lies?
Actually, if I remember correctly, he does use it right before fighting Arius.
Now you're just being a dick.
And in the end, after everything is said and done, he still just wants to quit.
How much longer can we keep going on like this?
All right, to be honest, I completely regret throwing this much shade at him. My man had every right to be in the state he was in.
Did he have every right to inadvertently kill those people? Because using a grenade on a single zombie dog that's already down for the count is overkill at best.
Kilimanjaro. Donnie's right, let's move this shit along to Chris. Now, once again, this guy always seems to arrive on screen at the head of some team, but this will be the first time he does without a partner. And whenever that happens, you just know that everyone there is going to die, easily. And these dumbasses are ripe for it.
No kidding. Yet again, zombies are a known bioweapon in this world, and yet people not only don't take it seriously, but they also don't know how to handle them. Like this Tuco Salamanca-looking motherfucker. First he's an asshole to Chris.
The big hero.
Then apologizes when he gets a reality check.
Sorry.
You know this dude deserved to be killed easily.
On that note, all these shitbirds deserved it, to be honest. I mean, come on, there's an actual scene where they see that non-responsive kid covered in blood, and they do the classic "Are you okay?" shit before getting chomped on.
Are you okay?
You seem to be in some sort of... We're gonna take you home.
Let's not bring that live action shit back up. We're in a better place now.
True, it just pisses me off how often they do that in zombie shit.
Hasn't Rebecca done that too?
Sir.
Fuck you.
But anyways, I don't know what they did to him in this film, but it just feels like they're trying to take him down a peg or two, you know? Like make him not such a tank like he was in 5 and 6.
How do you mean?
Well, I mean, look at the way Chris is. He seems so out of his league when he fights Arius in the beginning. It's so bad that he even gets slapped in the face like he was that stormtrooper in Obi-Wan.
It was a slap in the face to all of us, Joe. I'm watching this guy who in canon punched a 10-ton boulder like it was nothing. Just to see him get his ass tossed around like he was an NPC in a kung fu movie. Why doesn't Chris just pull out his gun when they are about 3 yards away from each other? Pistol beats knife every time.
Well, Rebecca does say that he favors his muscles.
He uses his brawn, while I use my brain.
You know exactly why. The fight scenes in this film look like they were all trying so hard to be John Wick, which came out a couple years prior. This scene. The zombie corridor with both Leon and Chris, where Chris even uses a zombie as a body shield. And the most infamous gunfight of all time. The rooftop shootout.
It's so glorious and yet so fucking dumb all in one. Like you're telling me that both these boys are so agile, they can dodge bullets at point blank range? Chris even has body armor on.
Or like how they're running around each other like dogs chasing their tails. What the shit is that?
Arius' gun must have unlimited ammo since the motherfucking thing never stopped spewing out bullets. Even after Chris empties his and he takes Glenn's, it still fires for what seems like another 2 mags worth.
And then they both just fucking go over the top and land onto a glass ceiling. For some reason, that does not stop Chris from actually restarting the fight. My guy actually wants to continue it on the worst footing for a fight in the history of the planet.
That must be him not using his brain, like Rebecca alluded to.
He uses his brawn.
Again, his hands are weapons of mass destruction canonically, and they can't even punch through glass.
Yeah, they nerfed Chris hard in this, not gonna lie.
And yet somehow with enough force, determination, and Hulk screaming, Arius is able to smash it open using Chris's head.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
He put all his points in luck too, because I don't know how the fuck his entire weight just sits on top of that shattered pane and doesn't even fall in. Before we move on to the best part of the film, is there anything else to add for Chris?
Like how he really doesn't give a shit that Leon lost his team, being the unsympathetic Chad that he is and wearing that sole survivor badge with honor.
So what? You just gonna sit around here another week and do nothing?
Another bottle here.
Cancel that.
Hey, who the hell...
Enough! Cut the shit. And it's our mission to bring his ass down.
Your mission, not mine. God damn it, Leon!
Stop!
And yet, for some reason, when this Kathy bitch dies at the beginning, Chris cradles her body and cries out like she's someone important. But we don't fucking know who she is, so why should we give a fuck?
Loud noises!
It's so stupid.
All right, boys, it's time.
Does it have to be?
I think I have held on long enough.
Not even close. Captain Simps a lot.
Let's continue with whom the real star of this movie is. Rebecca Chambers.
That's Officer Chambers to you.
Jesus Christ.
Good Lord, here we go.
First off, Rebecca coming back after 16 long fucking years was amazing. After it seemed that she had been completely written off and shipped on to side character island, Kaydokawa found a way to bring her back.
Yeah, and look what they did to her. Fucking immediately dressed her.
No, we'll get into that, don't worry, but right now we're going through the positives first. You're not going to take this away from me.
Jesus, fine. Fair enough.
Well, obviously the first positive is that she seems to be a professor now. Unfortunately, she decided to work in Chicago.
Gross.
And she still wears her signature green color in some way, while also trading out her red choker for a red necktie. In fact, now that I think of it, Rebecca, Jill, and Claire have always kept their colors throughout.
Who are you, Calvin Klein?
Whatever, she's still a badass in here.
How do you figure?
Joe, don't.
Yet again, she still needs to be rescued, just like back in Zero.
You idiot. Now he's going to rant.
You guys are constantly bringing up that Billy had to save Rebecca in Zero, or how Chris had to save her with the Hunter. But you know who else needed to be saved in the early games? Chris.
Chris, this way.
Jill.
You would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
Claire.
Don't worry, Claire. Your knight in shining armor is here.
Leon and even Ada. Hell, Ada has needed to be saved more times than Rebecca, yet nobody bats an eye.
Where's Leon when I need him?
She's also in more games than Rebecca is.
Fuck you.
In Umbrella Chronicles, Billy saves her from the very first zombie she sees.
Joe, you idiot.
Did you forget about Jill or Claire's first zombie encounter?
Barry!
What is it?
Look out! It's a monster!
Let me take care of it.
Wait! Don't shoot!
Get down!
Fuck.
Okay, Barry, we're not going through this whole shit again. Let's keep with the films.
Fine, moving on.
We good?
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Good.
You were saying?
Before Chris even comes to get her, she's already infected with the A virus before she's able to cure herself. And then even though she hesitates to kill her colleague.
Most likely because of Edward.
Edward! No.
Right. She still smashes his head in with an extinguisher. And also stabs another zombie with a pair of fucking scissors.
Double kill.
She's not afraid to get her hands dirty.
Didn't she get infected twice in this film?
Yeah, by a different strain. In fact, Rebecca, Leon, and Jill are the only people in the franchise to canonically be infected by 2 different strains of viruses and survive.
That's not all she goes through, Barry. In fact, if I'm going to be honest, she fucking gets wrecked in this film.
Yeah, I fucking know. Like we said, she gets infected twice, which the second one nearly kills her.
You have to kill me.
She gets choked out by Maria.
Squeezing the breath out of the A-lister!
She even fucking gets shot.
You just had to try to save her.
Girl's tough to go through that much damage.
Well, she was in the BSAA too, right?
You switched from special ops to science geek?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will admit that does sound dope as fuck. In fact, it seems all the X-Stars members went that way, like a reunion of sorts.
How touching.
I know you've been waiting a long time for this, Bear. So are there any other positives you want to mention before? You know?
Yeah, 3. I would like to point out that she still has that attitude she gave back to Billy in Zero.
I can handle this on my own. And don't call me little girl.
First, when she scolds Chris.
You should be wearing a clean suit, or at least a mask.
Yeah, well.
And then again, as she actually rips into both Chris and Leon at the bar.
God damn it, Leon!
Stop! You're acting like a couple of selfish brats right now.
And yet is still not arrogant about it, as she feels remorseful later on.
That wasn't very nice of me.
Okay, I will admit that I was happy she wasn't a bitch about it. Not like 2 make Ada when she saves Leon.
This is getting old. Saving your ass, that's twice.
I didn't realize you were keeping score.
Exactly. But most importantly of all is that not only is her blood the key to curing the A virus, but also that she gives it up knowing that she may die.
My blood holds the answers. If I die, get this to a lab you trust.
Ultimate sacrifice. That's always S tier for me, boys.
All right, Simpman 3000. She's still dope, but come on, Bear. You can't keep dodging it forever.
Fucking fine. I guess we need to address the big fat elephant in the room.
Don't you say it.
I mean, he's been chatting with us the whole time.
You piece of shit.
I mean, the fucking worst plot line in this fucking thing. I would even rank it down there with the likes of the Queen Leech, Alfred's shitty laugh, Quentin Grinder, and motherfucking Simmons' assassination plot.
He had to be stopped!
Just let it out, man.
If you want to cry, you go ahead and cry. Cry with you.
Glen Arias kidnapping Rebecca just so that he can marry her.
Wait, where are you going with this?
I'm redoing the wedding. This time, with you.
It's so fucking stupid that it's kind of funny, to be honest.
I am not convinced at all that you didn't write this, Barry. Come on, fess up.
No fucking way. First off, it's literally Bowser level shit.
You really thought I'd marry you?
Kinda. Like, who the fuck green lit that as a plot point? His wife dies, so he immediately kidnaps the next woman he sees.
It's because she looks like Rebecca or something.
That's Sarah, my wife. You look so much like her.
Fuck that shit. His wife looks more like Maria from the Silent Hill 2 OG. So then are we starting up Arias?
Yeah, go for it.
Finally. So this is a man who lost everyone close to him because of the government, so he decided to use a virus to infect innocent people as a way to get back at them. Gee, I wonder where I've heard that before.
Man, they really just keep cranking these boys out like that, huh?
Yep. The only difference is how they die. But the end result is still the same. And this smug face suit wearing prick is no different.
Smug indeed. I can't stand how every confrontation he has with Chris, he just has this little smirk on his fucking face, as if he could actually live up to being as villainous as Wesker.
Unfortunately, I'm not crazy.
Come to think of it, this is the second villain, back to back, who just takes out a seasoned fighter in hand to hand. It would have been nice if they had mentioned that Svetlana had trained Arias. That could have been a sweet nod to the last film.
I still am an instructor.
Yeah, it would have. Instead, we get somebody who is two opposites on the same coin. On one side, it's someone incredibly fragile to where they have to force someone to marry him because his wife is dead. On the other is the most indestructible man to come from this franchise, because he just walks away from a drone strike like he was fucking Alice in Afterlife.
Surviving a drone strike. Barry's worst nightmare.
Fuck off, Flop Top.
Well, I'm not convinced you didn't de-strike him just because you thought he was actually marrying Rebecca.
I guess we'll just have to wait until the docs become declassified.
Eat both sides of my ass, you two. I didn't toss a drone at what seems to be a man who rolled a nat 20 in luck.
No shit. It was so close. He's still holding his wife's hand.
Not only does he survive the blast, but he also survives the 100-foot drop that splatters him like a fucking tomato. And he wasn't even infected to begin with. Fucking how? That's the biggest plot armor I've seen since Helena got away with helping the president get assassinated.
The investigating commission have reviewed the evidence and feel it unjust to hold you liable for Simmons' crime. They will also not be disclosing their findings to the public.
I want to know, even when he's close to being dead and is much smaller than Diego, why does he get to be the dominant one when they merge into that grotesque fucking thing? A weaker form overtaking the stronger one doesn't seem very evolved to me.
And why do they always have to have two faces and an exposed heart?
His form is so stupid it's like a charred up veiny bodybuilder. And even though he's able to do the standard smashing and grabbing, the only real power his new form has is growing his nails really, really long. Like he's fucking Meg from Family Guy.
Is that all you can do? Ow! That kind of hurt. God, is that bleeding? No, I guess it's all right. Ouch, though!
To be fair, he does use it to catch himself between the helicopter and that building, like he was Spider-Man or something.
True, but it's not like it even helped him. In fact, if anything, he just made his weak point wide open for his true weakness. A 40mm grenade.
Who would have guessed, after all the things he went through, the most mundane boss killer actually got him?
And yet his wedding ring survived it. That's 2 explosions without a scratch. Indestructible should be the jewelry store slogan.
Indestructible. As a marriage should be.
The durability of that ring is as realistic as Rebecca getting into a real wedding dress, regardless of what Barry tried to do with this script.
You fuckers, I did not write this shit.
We do not believe you.
No shit. First the droning and then the writing. You put a lot of pieces into motion just to see your girl in white, you simping asshole.
Whatever. Before we rank it, I would like to point one last thing out about Arias, and that is at one moment he fucking says the most idiotic thing.
Maybe this is what I've always wanted. A world in flames, where only the dead remain.
Well then, I guess you deserve your fucking dead-ass wife then, you prick.
All right, I remember that. I thought he was pushed to the edge. Not that he was secretly insane. That line kind of kills his entire motivation. That this wasn't for revenge at all, but just because he...
Just want to watch the world burn.
All right, boys, so where do you...
Wait, what about the daddy-daughter duo that tagged around him?
Maria and Diego?
Yeah, the big one looks like if you took Mr. Hyde from the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and stapled an iron mask to his face. Which, by the way, I get the Frankenstein bolts in his back. But why did he even need the mask in the first place? To hide his smile?
Those weird appendages spewing out webs was fucking gross too.
At least he got to do something. Maria is literally riding in a truck in one scene, and then passed out on the ground in the next. That was it. The end.
Definitely wasted potential. So like I said, what do you rank this?
Does it matter? This thing is choked full of Rebecca, that I doubt anything we say that doesn't start with S and ends in tier, you're just going to fight us on.
Donnie's right. So just slap it up there and let's move on already.
No. I want to hear what you guys think for real.
He's going to draw this out.
Fine, I would put it into A tier.
I agree.
Although it's got the makings of a good Resident Evil film, it feels more like RE5 than anything else. Granted, that puts it above 6, but it still has the same tones as the game.
I follow that. Smug motherfucker who lures Chris into a spooky mansion just so he can get his fellow comrades killed. He can beat Chris at hand-to-hand combat, and he's trying to infect everyone with his special virus, one that he controls himself. He also kidnaps someone close to Chris for his own fucked up reasons. Then at the end, he has to turn into an abomination just in time to get himself blown up by Mr. Redfield.
Pretty much. However, seeing a small reunion with Chris, Leon, and Rebecca is nice to watch, I can't lie. So come on, argue with us about why it should lord over all the other films on its S-shaped throne.
Look guys, this may shock you a bit, but to be completely honest, I agree that it should be an A tier.
Excuse me?
What the fuck?
I must be hearing things. Rebecca not on top? Since fucking when?
Okay, you clowns, calm down and let me explain. First off, yes, seeing Rebecca in this is amazing to me. Not only because she's my favorite, but most importantly, it's Capcom acknowledging that she still exists. She's still fucking around with the other main characters, and even Leon Kennedy knows who she is.
Dr. High Hopes.
Of course he does. He has her picture from back in '98.
Nice one.
So yeah, after waiting 16 years and then finally watching your favorite character still kick some zombie ass while not losing their characterization in the process is great. However.
Here it comes.
And they kidnapped her and put her in that mother fucking dress.
And there it is.
I knew it. I knew it was about what they did to her. That's why you didn't put it up there.
So that's it? It's just about her being treated like some random girlfriend in a side-scrolling platform game?
Of course not. Vendetta has plenty of other things that conned its way out of S. Like how Leon is just a drunk now and blowing shit up with disregard to civilian safety.
As an officer, it's my job to look out for you.
So that was a fucking lie.
The craziness of the hallway fight that makes it look like 2 Navy SEALs taking out a nursing home filled with shamblers. And the worst fucking gunfight I have ever seen on the screen. All of that topped off with a villain who thinks it's okay to force a marriage because he's too busy crying about his dead, Silent Hill-looking wife. So, yeah, I am gonna say A tier.
Wow.
Jesus, fair enough, I guess.
No kidding. This film didn't have any negative effects on you at all.
Clearly.
Let's just get into the rapid-fire notes already and move on to Death Island.
Okay, so I'll just point out yet again that in this world, zombies are a thing.
So you're Chris Redfield, the expert on the living dead.
The very soldiers going into that mansion know of them. And yet again, they have no idea how to deal with it.
So, Mr. Expert, any advice on dealing with them? Yeah.
That poor fucking diner girl that got fucking obliterated. They didn't have to do her like that. She got fucking murdered for no reason. Like in Casino.
Poor fucking waitress who was just working on her night off of all things.
Oh, how about when the other BSA agents were chatting about fucking Breaking Bad? I mean, shit, that was a little cringe.
I just realized DC and Damien aren't talking about Breaking Bad for once.
Hey, don't go there, Chris.
Yo, that shit's ahead of its time.
It's a goddamn masterpiece.
Breaking Bad is the best show I've ever seen, except maybe The Wire.
Oh, speaking of wires, what was the point in having that one hallways just filled with wires? Like, who had time to put those up? And was that a nod to Anderson's laser room?
No, we're not doing that.
That doctor that tries to kill Chris because he's trying to save Rebecca from an operation. Watch out, Redfield, or else his daughter will come back as Laura Bailey and another beefed-out character to hunt you down for some golf lessons.
About the henchmen, does Areas require them to wear masks while they're on duty, even if they're underground? It just seems so unnecessary to me.
There's a few instances where Los Illuminados are mentioned, and then there's that man that talks about the surviving members of the cult.
The sequence is extremely close to the parasitic weapons used by the Los Illuminados cult. Let's talk about Los Illuminados.
He's getting paid by the surviving members of Los Illuminados.
Like what surviving members are still around? I thought they were all dead after Sadler. Are they a global cult? Because Sadler made it seem like they were just in that rural area.
My name is Osmond Sadler, the master of this fine, religious community.
Not to mention that they never did go and save that dude's family. The one that apparently Los Illuminados held captive.
Hi, honey, it's me. Were you able to get the man you said would help?
Are they dead? Because if so, that's yet another casualty that Leon is partly responsible for.
Damn, he's racking them up like Chris.
I got a big one.
Yeah, right.
We do not need to know that, Don.
The fucking BSAA agents firing a fucking laser inside the most populated city in the United States.
Holy shit!
Fucking thing goes through 4 skyscrapers like it was motherfucking Godzilla, basically creating the equivalent of 2 9/11s. For fuck's sake, that laser alone probably did more damage than whatever the fuck Areas had done that day.
Oh yeah, I remember thinking that whoever's on the ground is just fucked right there, and if not from the rubble, then from all the Areas goop falling to the ground. The entire city should look like the ending to Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, at least every stray dog and homeless person is going to start eating that shit, guaranteed.
That stuff's gotta get cleaned up somehow.
I love how it rips a hole through Diego's face and Areas just screams out his name. Obviously distraught at his friend's apparent death. As if when everything is done, they'll just separate back into their regular bodies or something. Diego was fucking dead the moment his web shit sprayed over Glenn like Toby's own spider fluid.
Speaking of going back to normal, I'll end this segment with a final question. When Rebecca's antidote cures everyone on the street and you see people reverting back to normal, it's supposed to be a wholesome moment for sure. But can you imagine the nightmare afterwards if you had eaten some people and their flesh were in your stomach? Or worse, if you yourself were bitten and chunks of you are missing, just for you to revert back. Do not get me wrong, I am glad my girl was able to create something so powerful that it saved over 8 million people, but still, good fucking Lord.
Like we said before, the implications are worse than what we could see.
True.
All right, boys, let's finish this up with the latest film. Death Island.
Right, this is the one whose plotline is straight up stolen from the 1996 film The Rock.
Welcome to The Rock.
The one about a man with a military background who lost his comrades in the line of duty because they were essentially sacrificed by the higher-ups. So he decides to attack Alcatraz Island while tourists are there and use it as a base to launch his incredibly volatile virus onto the world.
Yeah, pretty much.
Does that make Rebecca Chambers the equivalent to Stanley Goodspeed in this?
Not even an insult. Nick Cage is dope as fuck.
What do you say you cut me some friggin' slack?
But back on track, yes, this movie's plot is basically all of that. However, I will also say that the reasoning behind it is valid, even if the end result is just so mediocre. But before we get into that, let's start this shit up with Dr. Taylor.
Oh, right, I forgot this jittery piss stain was in this film. Nearly every single word that comes out of his mouth is a contradiction.
I'm Tony Davis.
So he helps Dylan Blake make the drones and shit. Then, like every classic villain's helper, he gets a change of heart, just in time to help the heroes defeat the villain.
I made a back door to the network.
Slow down.
Down, you idiot!
Then, when he finally escapes, instead of hopping onto the return boat back to the mainland, this idiot just fucking hides inside a cupboard in the prison.
Wait! Don't shoot!
What was his plan? To just run and hide and hope that Dylan and Maria will just forget about it and it'll all blow over?
Fuck him. Seriously, this guy walks around as if he's completely innocent. Fucker actually has the balls to throw shade at Claire and call her a cultist and a terrorist.
Is there a problem?
Not unless you're recruiting for your cult. I heard what happened in Harvardville. You're a bunch of terrorists.
I know you are, but what am I?
This dude is an actual terrorist, though.
So what's the deal with this Dr. Antonio Taylor guy?
He's wanted for espionage and eating enemy states.
Oh, yeah! Call the kettle black!
I thought the same thing too. Like when Dylan is chastising Jill, telling her to shoot Claire after she has been infected, or else.
She'll rip the not-so-good Dr. Taylor's guts out, and another innocent life will be lost.
Innocent? This piece of shit created the drones to help you infect the world. Who are you actually trying to fool?
Love it when he's astonished that Claire is patching him up, and Chris says,
"We'd treat your wounds even if you were one of the bad guys."
That's the biggest fucking lie I have ever heard in this franchise. There are so many instances where they would just double tap motherfuckers just for the fun of it.
Game over.
All of those people were infected.
Regardless, I have never seen them try to help someone that was bad. Chris literally tries to shoot Excella in the back, and Jill even shoots Nikolai and leaves his ass to die with the nuke. So my statement still stands.
Well, I think it's just wishful thinking on Chris's part. Most likely because everyone who is near him gets killed. They even mention it in this film.
We'll get there, Donnie, don't worry. But while we're on the subject of Mr. Redfield, I'd just like to point out that I find it adorable that he still tries to look after Jill like an overbearing big brother of sorts.
Why'd you go in alone?
I know that this film takes place in 2015, so it's after the events of 5.
And 6 for that matter.
But I just find it interesting that he bosses her around more than he does with his own baby sister. He even seems to have the same conversation that they had back in 5 too.
I'm not waiting for backup when there's a chance someone's in danger.
Right, but...
Millions will die.
Oh, yeah, but...
I'm all right.
I caught that too. He actually punishes her by making her do paperwork.
I'm having her write up the report about last night.
Ah, I get it. Punishment.
I found that to be a little weird, to be honest. I mean, isn't Jill also a co-founder of the BSAA? How did she get demoted under Chris? Is it because when Daddy Wesker had her, she needed to get reinitiated back into the organization again?
You left
the BSAA.
That means you have to be initiated all over again.
Glad to know nothing's changed with this boy.
Except for once again his strength. I swear, Kaydokawa nerfed the absolute fuck out of this man. Look at him struggle with these normal-ass zombies, knowing that he could punch creatures 3 times their size into the stratosphere.
Right, stop that. Silly.
Well, at least we can say that Leon stays a little of the same from the last film, since he just blatantly shoots into a crowded freeway to hit one single enemy. I just love how Matt Mercer's Leon is so goddamn bloodthirsty. Dude must be paid per kill he makes.
Yeah, well, it's living.
He still has that sociopathic mentality too. He just stands in the middle of a freeway, not giving any shit for human life.
Get out of the road, you idiot!
The man is lamenting his bike. Leave him alone.
I loved that bike.
Fuck you, asshole!
However, I do think they beefed him up a bit. The dude can just punt a fucking filled-up gas can 15 yards like he was Messi.
And pass the dad jokes from Chris onto him, too.
How many of these are there?
I ain't stopping to count. 0.
What?
You wanted to know how many there were?
Come to think of it, he's more comedic now, even throwing shade at Dylan when they first meet.
Well, if it isn't...
Ladies and gentlemen,
whoever you are...
we got him.
Our boy has come a long way from that slab of granite he was back in Degeneration.
Yeah, well, even with all the strength and shit, I find it hard to believe that he would be at a standstill with Jill. Come to think of it, it seems like every BSAA agent can go toe-to-toe with him.
You just sit here and feel sorry for yourself.
Not that last one.
Yes, that last one.
And yet he can't even take out Maria. What the fuck was that? Why the fuck do we have to watch my guy get his shit wrecked so easily for like 5 straight minutes?
I absolutely love that Dylan explains why Maria is even there. Like seriously, he straight up says she's there to even the score between her and Leon because he killed her father when that shit isn't even true in the slightest.
And since you murdered poor Maria's father, I thought this was a good opportunity to settle the score.
This is for my father!
He was Arius's guard dog. You were his bitch.
First, Glenn took over his body. Then Nadia was the one who actually killed Diego, and Chris shot the final blow. All Leon did was throw his bike at him.
I loved that bike.
Maybe he has something wrong with his eyes, and that's why it was so hard for him. Because it takes him way too long to realize he's grappling with Jill Valentine. I mean, shit, who else does he know that wore the very same outfit that she wore back in '98?
Let's hold off on Jill for now. Let's get into Claire for the moment, because even at this stage, it baffles me that she is still with motherfucking TerraSave. I mean, shit, girl. After Revelations 2 and Neil, you're still going to sport those colors?
Neil! I trusted you! TerraSave was built to save people! It's in the goddamn name!
She even still has to deal with hate from people about Harvardville, too.
Yeah, and if you watched real news, you know that we got framed over some bioweapon bullshit.
That's enough.
It's a hard hill to hike for this Redfield, no doubt. Don't know about you, but I usually quit a job after it's been involved with at least 2 atrocities.
The resume says otherwise.
And yet, even with all the shit that's happened, that TerraSave has been formed since 1998, and they've been in the news globally. This shitty fish and wildlife idiot has no idea who they are.
Is your group like an environmental protection agency or something?
Fucker's been living under a damned rock. I mean, fuck, they even helped evacuate Terra Grigia. You telling me this dumbass doesn't remember an entire city being overrun by hunters before getting sunbathed to death by a motherfucking satellite?
Nobody remembers that fucking timeline, Don.
True.
To be honest, I can see why people still think of her as a terrorist. I mean, look at what she's doing.
Trying to save the planet, one half-eaten fish at a time?
Doing her best to keep people safe. But since she's a Redfield, the odds are stacked against her.
No, she walks right into the BSAA headquarters and immediately steals their coffee.
Thanks a lot, Folgers. I was expecting Claire to put a bow on Chris and say some sappy shit.
What are you doing?
You're my present this year.
I don't ever want to see a brother and sister sharing coffee ever again. This isn't Game of Thrones. The Redfield bloodline isn't that desperate.
I just want to my brother.
It's Folgers in your cup.
I'm just going to say this once and then we'll move on. These Redfields go through so much facial reconstruction, it's like they're fugitives or something. Seriously, just like how Chris changes from 5 to 7 to 8. Claire looks completely different starting from Code V to Revelations 2 and then again in the 2 make.
Come on, Barry, you can't compare these films with graphics from 2000. Even I know that the tech changed drastically as time went on. Like that factoid about how there are more polygons on Lady D's ass than there is in all of the first OG back in '96.
Are we talking about Lady D's ass now?
That waistline, yes.
No, you degenerate, zip back up.
Although that's true, Joe, what I am saying is that this film came out in 2023, 4 years after the 2 make, and yet for some reason Kaydokawa modeled her after Revelations. But then they kept the 3 make model for Jill. Fucking weird. But we'll get into that later. Let's move on to Rebecca.
You sure you can contain yourself this time?
No promises.
Well, I for one would like to know why Kaydokawa made her look different in this one as well. I mean, she looks like she's in her early 20s instead of being 35. And I know I'm not talking crazy here. She actually shrunk in the 1 year between events.
Also, for some reason, her head looks a little disproportionate compared to her body. Did you notice this, Bear?
Believe me, I noticed. They also sort of diminished her role as well. I guess she's back to being the science nerd for the group, but does that mean she's an official member of the BSAA again? I imagine she couldn't go back to Chicago after what happened in Vendetta, but since this shit is canon, that just raises more questions in the later games, especially in 8.
To be honest, it would be pretty sick to see if she was part of Blue Umbrella.
I think what Barry's trying to say is that he doesn't like that she was sidelined in this story. Even Dylan Blake doesn't see her as a threat, seeing as he apparently pulls all the files for every Raccoon City survivor but her.
They were looking for top-secret files on previous bioterrorism cases, going back to Raccoon City. They managed to steal data on key personnel on those cases. Leon, Chris, Jill, and Claire.
It's as if Shinji Mikami called him up with an earful of his own thoughts on her.
Why does he hate her so much?
Probably because she's a witch or something.
What?
Excuse me?
How else can you explain to me how she knew that she'd only need 4 syringes of the vaccine when dozens of people went onto that tour?
I just hope I made enough.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah, but one of those people was a YouTuber. No way was she going to cure that idiot.
Fucking YouTubers, gross.
Hey, it's your boy Zach here, and today I'm checking out Alcatraz!
Or how she was able to get inside the tunnels after that water BOW destroyed the dock in front of her, like this was Godzilla from 1998.
Downgrades aside, she's still a badass in here, because remember, she actually uses her brain.
While I use my brain.
She's the one who actually puts in police work and figures out the commonality between all the missing people. And it took her maybe 15 minutes.
The police couldn't find a connection between the folks that were infected. But I dug a little deeper and found they all had one thing in common. They all visited Alcatraz recently.
No way.
Before you even say it, we know. While everyone else is just throwing whatever they can at him, with some of these weapons they're not even sure how to use.
You know how to use this? It's got a trigger, doesn't it?
Rebecca's the one who actually finds a way to really fuck him up.
It's in manual mode. Now we can stop him.
Hold on a sec. We control the drones now. So why don't we use them?
5 minutes later.
Go get him! What's happening?
The drones are pumping their virus in, overloading it. It's messing with the creature's chemistry.
And she still comes to fight as well. She's like the cleric of the group. Heals them up first and then adds to the DPS.
I will admit, I like seeing her with that rocket launcher. That was pretty dope.
But sliding on your back as if you're recreating that slide shot from Afterlife was a little sus, not gonna lie.
I know you're not throwing shit at her for that scene when you got Leon trying to do a fancy parkour jump and Claire twirling like this is an interpretive dance class or something.
Fair enough.
All right, guys, let's move on to who this movie is mainly about. Jill Valentine.
Why does she look like the exact same as she did back in 1998? It's been 17 years and she didn't age a motherfucking day.
Like I said, it's weird that they used the same model from the 3 make. However, I guess that just bolsters the theory that the viruses Nemi and Wesker pumped into her had regenerative powers. So she ages much slower than anyone else. Kind of like Sherry Birkin, maybe? At least Nicole Tompkins still voices her, so that's cool.
We can't afford to think about being numb or souls or any of that shit.
And yet after everything she's been through, she still goes into a possible BOW trap dressed like a soccer mom. Christ, she's grappling with an actual zombie and she's willing to risk her safety for fashion.
Looking like a badass while doing it too.
True.
Like on the firing range, expertly handling that shit. I love that she still uses her samurai edge. That little Easter egg is great for me.
Until she loses it during a scuffle. I am not sure she ever gets it back either. Leon gives her a gun later and I think she just keeps using that.
You got a gun?
Nope. Lost it.
Here.
Thanks.
Speaking of their reunion, how'd you like it that when Maria shows up, she just starts to kick the shit out of Leon and Jill just watches it without even trying to help? Fuck, even Sheva, who was younger and less experienced, charged at a psychopathic god with just a knife.
That's not the only thing that was also funny to watch. For some reason, Jill also has trouble lifting the railgun that's there, even though she had 0 problems hefting the one back in '98.
I'll throw my back out if I try to lug this thing.
It's all that fucking emotional baggage that's weighing her down. That's got to be the only reason why she's slower on her reactions, can't lift for shit, and even has a problem with just shooting a single liquor.
The fuck do you mean? She's blasting liquors all over the place in those tunnels.
Yet not the one that has her leg? Jill and Leon struggle with that for like 10 seconds. Get on your game, girl.
Maybe she's still traumatized from when she was almost licked like this was Alien 3 or something.
To be fair, everything is always throwing their elongated appendages at her.
On the subject of her baggage, the main subplot of this film is Jill Valentine's character arc. Since this takes place after the events of 5, Jill is still feeling guilty over what happened with Wesker.
If she's being reckless, like you say, it's probably because she's trying to make up for what happened to her.
You mean how Wesker brainwashed her and made her come after us? No one's blaming Jill for that.
Except Jill.
When I was being mind-controlled by Wesker, all I wanted was to kill you. It was like living in a nightmare.
And this may get me into some hot water, but fuck it, I'll just say it. The time between 5 and Death Island is 6 years, girlfriend. You've been holding on to this the entire time, walking around like an emo teenager, giving sarcastic quips at the dinner table?
Just shut up! Too true. I could understand her struggle for maybe a year or two, but come on, 6?
It's a little ridiculous, I agree, but at least she figures that shit out while doing her best Bryce Howard impression from Jurassic World.
Good thing Jill doesn't have any high heels on either.
Nah, she left those back in Apocalypse.
Motherfucker, stop staining these films with those rotten pieces of shit.
I'm good. But I'm not that good.
I just think that it's a good thing they encountered a villain who whines about his own misfortunes enough that she can get through her own shit. Can you imagine what would have happened if there was another asshole that just wanted to destroy the world for the laughs?
Well then.
Maybe that's why she wasn't around after 5. I mean, Chris had rescued her from Wesker in 2009. Between that time and now, Revelations 2 happened, Re 6 happened, and Vendetta happened. What the fuck was she doing?
Technically getting tested on at the BSAA. Which, by the way, she emailed Barry Burton at this time, saying that not only did they list her as killed in action, but they didn't even give her a funeral.
Didn't stop them from putting up a headstone now, did it?
Coffin, gravestone, the whole thing.
He had a coffin. What was in it?
All right, we fucked around long enough. Let's finish this up with our last character.
We finally started with Dylan Blake then?
Yeah, I can't see why not.
Good, because this Kevin Bacon-looking motherfucker had the best backstory to any villain we've seen. This guy was so close to becoming fucking Zemo in Civil War that I just wish he didn't end up the way he does at the finale. I mean, come on, we actually get to see a bit of the other side of the Raccoon City outbreak, not with the UBCS.
We're just mercenaries, hired hands.
Or the Umbrella Special Forces.
This is Hunk from Alpha Team.
But the regular security forces tasked with evacuations and such.
Orders are to assist evacuation of Umbrella Corp execs and government officials only. No civilians.
To watch how most of these guys didn't know what the hell was going on, and then to be thrown into all of that chaos was just so nice to see.
I mean, that's true, but I'm not giving this guy too much credit since I guess that's as far as his humanity will go. He doesn't give a shit when it comes to shooting civilians, but then finally bucks at orders when his friend is dying.
Anyone in Raccoon City who's infected must be shot on sight. No exceptions. Not even our people.
You want us to kill our team?
Terminate with extreme prejudice.
You mean his friend JJ? Dear Lord, how many more characters are going to pop into this franchise with 2-letter names? And why do they all start with J?
Hey, you know, I got a friend whose name begins with J too. Is that right?
So let's get into the meat of this guy. Yes, he's just like everyone else we've covered. A man who loses someone close to them, thus he decides to use a virus to get his revenge on the world.
I'm going to use my virus.
Blah, 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 blah. However, and maybe it's because he's been the closest to actually take down the main protagonists, I enjoyed him.
He was definitely entertaining, that's for sure, even though he rips off the whole Two-Face thing from The Dark Knight.
I don't know, he does say that the Blazing Bull is elegant or something.
Put a person inside, light a fire under it, then sit back as the bowl heats up and slowly burns the person inside alive. So elegant.
Look, I get that you guys like him and shit, but this is the same cane-tapping motherfucker who in one breath will talk a bunch of shit about big corporations and corrupt executives.
The huge corporations and the corrupt execs that run them. The ones getting big fat bonuses for maintaining the status quo.
And then we'll spew out how they choose who lives and who dies. He acts all high and mighty, but in the end, he still killed his best friend over his own survival. Maybe pull that trigger a couple more times instead of once, Dylan. Chance saved your friend from your MP5, but then you cheated him by taking fate into your own hands and bashing his head in either way. Besides, his whole clean the slate motive actually makes him worse than Umbrella, since that was an accident, whereas Dylan is deliberately going to kill millions.
Okay, Donnie, I see your point. But I can't deny how much of a Chad Dylan is when he actually manages to infect 70% of the entire Resident Evil main protagonists in a single blow. And then he fucking begins to kick them while they're down.
Oh yes, rips right into each of them. It's glorious. Leon gets shit on for who he works for.
Leon S. Kennedy. Working hard for people who lie and cover up the truth.
I mean, he's not wrong. They did cover up their involvement with Raccoon City, plus that shit with Helena and the president's assassination.
They will also not be disclosing their findings to the public.
But
The president would have done the same.
And throws it at Claire.
You think your group helps people, but they don't do anything to stop the actual cause of all the suffering. They offer bandages instead of real solutions.
I am surprised he didn't talk shit about their slogan.
Terra save. Because tear doesn't have to end with a wrist.
But he's right. I mean, TerraSave hasn't done a damn thing since the fucking Terra Grigia panic. And that was years ago. Plus, they did fuck up that whole thing with Harvardville back in Degeneration, not to mention Neil on Sign Island.
But the best one is what he says to Chris Redfield.
And Chris Redfield. Despite the fact you lose team members on every single mission, you keep coming back with more. How many lives have you sacrificed in the name of justice, I wonder?
That shit fucking slaps hard. Kaydokawa actually made that shit canon.
Yeah, I agree with Bear that it's such a great highlight of the film. But then he gets real stupid after this.
Which part was worse? Is it when he deliberately does not infect Jill for some stupid as all fuck reason?
I left her alone, so she could experience what I went through.
Or was it that he knew that Rebecca would come and save them with a cure that she'd be able to concoct? So he just didn't program a drone to infect her either.
Rebecca's cured the others by now.
I expected she would.
All of those, but the worst is when he actually steals yet another DC villain's move and uses his virus injector on himself like the Joker did in Arkham Asylum, and then becomes that giant Dunwich horror-looking monstrosity. Jesus, what are the parameters of this virus? Where in the formula does it say that infected human plus infected shark equals elephant-sized BOW?
Who knows? To be honest, most of these infected fuckers are just Cronenberg wet dreams. And even though he's the biggest of them all, he doesn't really do much during the final fight, just stomps around and shit, bellowing every once in a while.
That was it?
Classic big monster before finally dying to a falling object cliche.
Close.
Well, that's what his ass gets for starting a fight with military-trained specialists inside a giant armory filled with weapons and shit. I mean, fuck, there's literal vehicles with mounted machine guns just sitting there. How the hell did he think this was going to turn out?
Like I said, his final plan got real dumb real fast. So I am going to give this a solid A.
I mean, yeah, I'm with you on that too. Even though it was really good to see the Raccoon City family back together, it still didn't hit that note perfectly to me.
Like a Raccoon City reunion.
What do you think, Bear?
To be honest, I agree with the both of you.
Really? I thought we would have had an argument.
Especially now that the S tier is practically naked. There's not a single Resident Evil film that belongs in it.
To be completely honest, no, at least to me, there isn't. Yes, these are leagues better than the live actions. Yes, seeing these characters doing things that are canon to past games is great to watch. But if I am being completely honest, that's not all that I want to see in a Resident Evil film. I want to see the horror and the fear that hooked me into this franchise in the first place.
Exactly. I know we've joked about it a bunch, but seriously, when every single villain has the exact same motive, then the fourth one is not going to make it any better.
Plus, it still has the echoes of The Rock to it, to be honest. I mean, if we're going to ride on Anderson for ripping things off, we shouldn't give this one a free pass, to be fair.
There are elements in this, and even in the last couple films, that shows Kaydokawa can make a great Resident Evil movie.
How so?
Just make an origin CGI movie that takes place during the Spencer Mansion incident. It can't be that hard. Especially when you have scenes like when Jill is in the house by herself, or when Chris raids that other mansion in Vendetta. Hell, even Damnation shows off how fast lickers can be. Just replace a lot of the action for characters out of their depth and feel like they can actually die, instead of fighting ugly behemoths while making jokes.
Definitely going on vacation after this.
The The pieces are there, we just need them to be constructed correctly. That would make an S-tier Resident Evil film for me.
I guess in the end, it's really based on what you feel is truly the core of Resident Evil. Is it survival horror with eerie conspiracies and vulnerable protagonists fighting for their lives? Or is it action horror with terrorist-like villains fighting against elite protagonists with experience and confidence backing them up?
Something to think on for sure, but let's finish this shit up with our last rapid-fire observations. I'll start with when Jill and Chris are talking, they show a little fridge, but it's filled with different types of water. Why? Who the fuck is super picky at the BSAA?
I got one. When Leon is fighting with Maria on that freeway and Maria just presses a button to let the ramp down, loosing all those cars.
Shit.
First off, I'm almost 1,000% sure that they are individually strapped in for just such an occasion. But also that while his entire payload is just falling off his truck and creating a Final Destination type chaos, the fucking driver doesn't even stop. Like he's going to get to where those cars need to be and half of them are just fucking gone.
You didn't realize you were driving a light horse?
No, I decided nothing. It felt fine.
Oh, come on, Frank. Come on.
Oh, speaking of Maria and Leon, I almost forgot. That thing you said about Leon getting his shit wrecked by her for 5 minutes. It's more than likely he was weak by the virus still, and it took that long for the vaccine to take full effect. That's why he fucks her shit up easily after a bit.
Fatality.
Oh, damn, I hadn't even thought of that.
On the subject of the injection, why does it hurt so damn much to get hit by a drone but not in the beginning? There should have been a dozen people doubling over on that row.
Not to mention that yet again, the speed of the infection is confusing when you have people who turn so fucking fast, like literally in seconds.
Yo, hand over there! Some dude shot some other dude! You see that? What the...
But Chris, Claire, and Leon take ages to turn.
I gotta throw a shot at you, Barry, but I have to. I kind of chuckled when Hunnigan was stern with Rebecca. She ain't got time for her shit.
So, Leon's working with you on this?
Yes, but I still can't reach him, so let's save the chit-chat.
Everyone is always underestimating my girl. Just like Dylan. I didn't want to talk about this, but like hell I am going to leave her on a low point. At one moment, Dylan says that none of them know what it's like to go through what he went through.
None of you know what it's like to live with that hanging over your head. Do you?
But the only one who can say that they do know that feeling is probably Rebecca.
Jesus.
The biggest eye roll I could possibly make.
Look, I'm not trying to push it, but Rebecca is the only one who has had to actually kill her friend after they were infected.
Edward! No.
Twice even.
Wait, that can't be right. What about Forrest?
Technically, that's true, but you can just kill him and move on. There isn't any impact like there was with Edward for either Chris or Jill.
Fine, Barry, since you just had to push up your nerd glasses, she can be crowned the killer of colleagues just for you.
Speaking of Vendetta, there's a part where Dylan says that he did deals with Glenn Arias and that they were close.
Arias and I did a lot of business together, so you could say we were sort of close.
But I guess you weren't close enough to be invited to his fucking wedding.
I really want to know just how everyone is making liquors. I mean, how did they become more common in these movies than the fucking dogs did?
It took me 6 years of research to build my
liquors.
How do high school dropouts keep making them? Are they as easy to build as ham radios and I'm just an asshole?
Hey, where did all the bodies go? Based on the blueprints of Alcatraz, when Jill and Leon get to the cells holding the Redfields, which appears to be the same corridor that they were battling in only hours before, there should be scores of bodies and blood on the floor. What did Maria mop before she began to hunt them?
Maybe it's the maintenance crew. Oh wait, there's not one on Alcatraz. Since apparently there's not only a random hole in the cage, but also the floor is so unstable that if 4 or 5 people stand in one area, you fall to the lower tunnels. All right, boys, that's it. We're done. We've watched all the Resident Evil movies, from absolute garbage to actual great and entertaining ones that were a treat.
Finally.
Thank God.
I do not think there's any more we can do, so let's get out of here before something fucked up happens. Fuck.
Here we go.
Well done, boys. You hiked across mountains of shit, dealt with everything I threw at you, and still came out on top. Gotta be honest, I'm impressed. So I'll tell you what, I'll take another look at your contracts and see... Holy shit, it's Rebecca Chambers.
What?
What the fuck?
No fucking way.
Hey, Saki, did you really rank that traitor Wesker above me?
Oh shit.
You're cooked.
No, I swear, it wasn't me.
I thought we could be friends. Too bad.
I'm going to own you fuckers forever.
Shit.